What's going on? Good morning. It is Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFSArmy. I'm going to bring you a little breakdown of tonight's national championship game between the Georgia Bulldogs and Alabama Crimson Tide, where we have a 52.5 over/under with the Bulldogs favored by 2.5. I think it's going to be different than the SEC championship game where Alabama just absolutely mauled Georgia 41-24. I think this game could even go under a little bit. But I'm gonna give you my thoughts, kind of breakdown. We have cheat sheets over at DFSArmy. We got the optimizer loaded up. It's our domination station. It's all loaded up. I'll kind of go through that and talk about it. I'll talk about how I'm gonna attack this game a little bit. And if you want access to all that, look in the description below. Hit the link and join us. Get 10% off your VIP membership using promo code CashKeg. And we'll just dive right into this thing. And I'll just kind of go over some different scenarios, how I see it playing out, and maybe it can help you take down tournament. So if you like this video, if you want to see more of these, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, and just let's get into this and knock it out. All right. As you can see, I have our domination station loaded up, which is our optimizer over here at DFSArmy. And again, loaded this thing up this morning. As you can see, Georgia is favored by 2.5. They get 27.5 applied team total with Georgia. I'm sorry, with Alabama at 25. And again, I'm just going to kind of talk through this through the Draftkings side, but it's no different than Fanduel. The only thing different with Fanduel is you're not getting the 1.5x at captain where you do the MVP. I'm just going to show Draftkings, but it's very similar with Fanduel. And again, if you want to check our cheat sheets out, we have both Draftkings and Fanduel kind of break it down for you if you want to come over and talk about that. So with that, let's just jump right into this. And how the game is going to play out. So I'm going to kind of be away from the run games here. Both these teams have good run defenses. I think they're a little more leaky in the secondary for Bama. So I could see Georgia throwing a ton here with Stetson Bennett. And that first game, we saw a lot of passing. Stetson Bennett went 29 for 40 for 340, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The run game didn't get going. James Cook, 11 for 38. McIntosh 4 for 32, Zamir White 7 for 27. They just didn't get it going, and I can see something similar here where Bama just stops the run, and makes them pass. So I think Bama will probably play more of a soft shell and just kind of let them, bend but not break, and hopefully they make some mistakes. So that should bode real well for guys like Brock Bowers, just a stud tight end for them. He gets all the targets. He went 10 for 139 and a touchdown last in that SEC championship game. We can see something similar to that. But again, I'm going to kind of fade the running games here. I'm not, I definitely would make rules where you don't have one of James Cook and Zamir White in a lineup here. And you can do that really easily with our domination station here. You have 0-1 and say we don't want, because I don't think both of them are going to get there. So I definitely don't want them in the same lineup here. So we'll bet in all lineups. And I just don't want more than one of those. I just don't think they're both going to get there at the price. 8,200, 5,400. That's a rule that I would set automatically. They spread the ball out a lot. It'd just be really hard for them to both be in the optimal. And if you're running 150 lineups, they could sneak in there, and it's just something that I'm not really looking forward to, and I don't really want to push. So that would be one of the first rules I make. On the other side with Alabama, it's all about Brian Robinson Jr. He only went 16 for 55 yards in the SEC championship game. Again, they threw the ball a ton. I think we're going to see something very similar again. So again, at 9,800, I'm not going to be a complete fade, but he's not going to be someone that I'm going to jam in my lineups. I would rather take some chances on maybe some Trey Sanders at 2,600 just because he's cheaper. Not that I think he's going to get more volume, but for some reason, something happens to Robinson and Sanders gets the work. He's healthy now. I think I would much rather run him. He was 6 for 21 in that SEC championship game. Robinson was 16 for 55. Bryce Young actually get in the box. He ran 3 for 40 and got a touchdown. So I would rather take some chances on Trey Sanders than I would Brian Robinson. And that's just the price. And it's because I'm going to be loading up on the passing game. And I just don't want to waste too many lineups with Brian Robinson at that price, where, we have Bryce Young at 10.6 and, Robinson Jr. at 9,800. And then we got Jamison Williams at 10.2. I just don't want to waste that salary on the running game because I just don't think that's how they're, I think Georgia's gonna stop it again. So I don't really want to go there. So that's the first thing. I'm going to kind of be off the running game. If I'm going to play anything, it's Trey Sanders. It's maybe some McIntosh, some White. Like, I want the cheaper guys. I don't want the expensive guys in the ribbon game on both sides. So that's where I'm kind of looking at things. If on the wide receiver side, now in the national championship game, we had John Mechie, but he's out. So Bama is going to have to fill those roles now. Jameis Williams went completely off, 7 for 184 and 2 touchdowns. Mechie in that SEC championship game had 6 for 97 and a touchdown. And they're going to have to fill in. And we saw that with Ja'Cory Brooks kind of fit that Mechie role. And he is sitting at 6,400 here. If they go all out to try to stop Jameson Williams with no Mechie there, and they focus on that, they have a stud secondary. We could see big games out of some of these secondary Bama pieces. So Ja'Cory Brooks could get just a ton of work here. We could see, 7, 8, 10 targets out of him. Jaleel Billingsley, 2K. He could have a massive game as well. He only had 2 receptions for 27 yards in that championship game. But again, more of these guys are going to have to step up here. So again, on the Bama side, I kind of want to mix and match a lot of these guys. Maybe JoJo Earl takes one to the house on a kickoff, or they get him in a bubble screen or something, and he goes off. Maybe Cameron Latu, catches a touchdown and he has the big game. I want to mix and match a lot of these guys. Slade Bolden had 5 catches for 54 yards in the SEC championship game, so a guy I want to have a lot of. I'm still going to have a lot of Jameson Williams, but it would not surprise me if one of these other guys had a big game and they kind of, made sure Williams didn't go completely bonkers. And there's a ton of salary left on the table. I think that's how you can kind of get unique. Maybe Williams goes 6 for 67 and no touchdowns, but we get Billingsley, catches 7 for 70 and 2 touchdowns, or we get Ja'Cory Brooks doing the same thing. Maybe he's the one that catches 8 balls for $120 and a touchdown. So I'm going to spread these Bama wide receivers out a ton. I think. If I had to pick the ones that I like the most, it's probably going to be, again, I'm just doing ownership because I think, everybody's going to look at how much he smashed in Jameson Williams, and he's going to be super high owned. He's going to be probably 70, 80% owned, if not higher. So if you want to come down a little bit off that and go maybe 60% and then go higher on these other guys like Ja'Cory Brooks and Billingsley would be the next 2 that I want to be highest on. And I might be, he might be my highest owned Bama receiver. Maybe I want to go super high on him. So Brooks, Billingsley, Bolden are the guys that I want. If I'm going to come off Williams a little bit, and then I'd have a sprinkle a lot to an Earl. I don't think I need, Baker in there. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. Over on the Georgia side, kind of looking at this a little bit. Again, Brock Bowers, absolute stud. Now he's got some lingering injuries, but it's not going to stop him from playing. It's not going to stop him from probably dominating this game. He went 10 for 139 and a touchdown against Bama in the SEC championship game. We could see something similar here. He's cheaper than Williams. I'll probably have more of him than I will have Williams, just because that secondary Bama's kind of beat up, and I think they can continue to have success in the air more than they do on the ground. So again, I want some Stetson Bennett, and I want Bowers. The one guy I'm going to be heavy on as well after that, again, super cheap, is George Pickens, man. Absolute stud. He's finally, I think, healthy, and I think we could absolutely see a ceiling game at him. They're going to need him. Didn't do a whole lot. Two catches for 41 yards in that championship game. He was second in receiving yards behind Bowers, but it wouldn't surprise me if he actually just went bonkers in this game. He could catch 6-7 balls and 100 yards and a touchdown. Would not surprise me. Absolute stud, and he's the kind of guy that I want to be overweight on. AD Mitchell here at 4K. I don't mind taking some stabs at him. Georgia's just, they spread the ball out a ton. In the SEC championship game, he threw the ball to 12 different guys. Now Bowers was by far where he's looking to early and often, but everyone else just kind of gets a little bit. So all these guys are kind of a little bit here, a little bit there. I would rather load up on the Bama wide receivers because I think that's where I want to get heavier on. But I still want a ton of Bowers, and I still want a ton of Pickens. and then I'm still going to have McConkey, Mitchell, and Burton here. You know, those are the guys I'm really focused on. All these guys down here, I don't think are going to get me there. You know, in the passing game, you know, James Cook caught 4 balls for 28 yards. Zahir White 2 for 17, so you get some of that. But I don't really want any of these guys that are just, you know, probably not going to see the field much. So I would focus on these 5, with Pickens being my favorite, you know, cheap guy here on this team, just because he's got all the talent in the world and he could absolutely smash in this. So I do think it could be a low scoring game as well. So if you think it's going to be a low scoring game, I would build some scripts. You know, maybe Bama and Georgia get the ball down to the red zone and they just can't knock it in, right? So they get down there and end up kicking field goals, and it's a lower scoring game. So maybe you want to build some lineups like that kind of, you know, show a lower scoring game where the kicking's more involved. I wouldn't go very heavy on it. I would build those separate scripts. And if you're doing that, you know, no one's going to have a kicker up at captain, you know, and you have to assume that that's not the most optimal play. But, you know, if they're going to sit down there and, you know, maybe they each get 3 or 4 field goals and there's just not a lot of scoring, you know, that's, you know, I wouldn't mind hand building 4 or 5 of those lineups. I wouldn't build them in the DS or in the optimizer. I would definitely just hand build those. I don't see like that being the optimal outcome. But it's something that you can definitely look at. So again, I'm kind of fading the running games here. I'm going to go heavier on the quarterbacks, the wide receivers. Kind of gave you who I'm looking at here. And let's go back to the news desk real quick. So let's just talk a little bit how I set up showdowns. It don't matter if it's NFL, NBA, or college football or anything. I set them all up the same. I run them in batches. You know, I tend to pick 3 to 5 captains or MVPs that I want, and I set up a spreadsheet where, you know, I have a simple formula, just calculates 150 lineups. When I type in their name, type in how many lineups that I want, and then let it add up to 150. That way I can kind of mess with how many do I want of each individual as a captain. And I felt like when I do them in batches, you're going to have better allocation of your best guys in those lineups. So if you run all 150 at once, sometimes the bottom 150 can be garbage. And if they are some of your, you know, maybe not as optimal captain plays, they're going to kind of come with a bunch of garbage. So I don't really like to do that. I really like to just run batches. So I like to pick 3 to 5. I'm probably going to have 0 running backs on this slate in my captain or MVP. It could absolutely bite me. You know, Cook could go off for 2 touchdowns. Robinson could go off for 2 touchdowns. You know, anything could happen for sure. So it's one of those things where you got to take a stand for me. It's like, I don't want to run 10 different captains. I don't like run that. I like to run 3 to 5. You got to do what works for you, but you pick those captains out, you figure it out, run them in batches, put them in there. It's very simple. Again, no Monday Night Football tonight. We just have college football, which is awesome. Again, if you don't have a membership, you know, head on down there, click on the link below, and join DFSArmy, and you'll get access to our optimizer and our cheat sheets that we have for this game. And, you know, jump in our Discord with that VIP membership, and we'll be talking about the game all day. It should be a fun one. I still think Georgia's going to win this, you know, but hey, it's Nick Saban. I'm not putting any money on it just because I'm never betting on Saban. So again, should be a fun one. If you haven't, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel if you want me to keep doing some more of these videos, and good luck to you. See you on the flip side. Deuces.